Hi everyone, I'm Greg Plock and welcome to this Free Range Conversations with American Farmland Trust event. Today we're talking about the 2021 New England Farmer Microgrants Program, and I am super excited today to have Jamie Pottern and Kristen Irvin from our New England team, and also a very special guest. We have Kelsey Harrington from Two Farmers Farm in Maine, one of our past New England Microgrants recipients that is going to give you a firsthand view of what it's like to participate in this program. Before I turn it over to Jamie, I just want to give you a little sense of why we do this program. So in recent years, all of us at AFT has seen the incredible impact that providing small grants to farmers can have on helping them grow and sustain their businesses. Just here in New England, we've given away over $325,000 to 69 farmers in 20 and 21. And we're excited to run this program again in 2022. So I'd like to turn it over to Jamie. Right before I do that, I just want to remind everyone that this is a live conversation, and a big part of why we do these is so we can answer questions directly from you, our members and supporters, and in this case, farmers who may be interested in applying for this program. So if you have any questions while we're speaking today, please just pop them into the comment thread of whichever social platform that you're viewing this on, and we'll do our best to answer them. Jamie, thanks so much for being here today. Tell us about the program in 2022.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much, Greg, and thanks to everyone for being here with us. As Greg said, we run the small grants program for farmers across New England. We're entering the third year of the program, so we're really excited to share more about that process and answer all your questions today. And this program really is designed to help address a lot of the core challenges that farmers are facing in New England. So things like access to land, increasing the production and productivity of farmland in New England, helping support farmers and farm families thinking about the future of their farms and how those farms might get passed on and stay in the hands of farmers, as well as supporting regenerative agricultural practices. So we're going to go into the finer details of everything that's eligible and fundable through this program. We're excited to tell you all about it. But first, I'm really thrilled that we have actually one of our previous awardees, one of our 2021 Microgrants recipients, Kelsey Harrington from Two Farmers Farm. So Kelsey, I just thought you could take a few minutes and just tell everyone who's live with us today a little bit about yourself and your farm and how you use your grants and maybe some of the impact that the funding has had on you and your farm.
Sure, thanks. So Two Farmers Farm is located in Scarborough, which is a coastal town in southern Maine. We grow a variety of certified organic produce for wholesale markets. This past season, we grew about 5 acres of organic produce. And we used the grant to purchase a subsoiler. We farm in an area with really high development pressure. There's not a lot of farmland left, and what is available is really expensive. So land access is a huge constraint for us. We do control some land now, but some of it is a little bit heavy and doesn't drain very well. So the use of the subsoiler has allowed us to bring another 3 or so acres into production, which for a small farm like ours is really significant.
That's huge. That's so great, Kelsey.
And if anyone has any questions for Kelsey and you want to type them into the comment thread, I'll be happy to pass them along. Kelsey, have you pursued other grant opportunities? I'm just wondering if you could give us a sense of what your experience was like with this program, maybe as compared to other ones you may have applied for.
Yeah, we have applied to other grant opportunities. This grant was pretty straightforward to apply for. There was a series of questions that in answering them sort of helped us develop a story about what we needed and why and how it would benefit the farm. And it was very straightforward, I would say.
Great, and we hope it is just as straightforward this year. I think we as nonprofit staffers have maybe more experience than we would like with grant programs. And, you know, a lot of us write grants, a lot of us write grant reports. And so one of the things that we've done with this grant program is really tried to streamline the process, make it as easy as possible to apply, because we know farmers are busy. We know they don't have a lot of time to get, you know, out of the field and to do computer work and paperwork. So that's really one of the big focuses of this program. Jamie, anything else you want to talk to Kelsey about before we turn it over to Kristen to give us a little bit of insight on the timeline?
No, I think you kind of answered it, Kelsey. I think we are just really excited to hear, you know, have farmers who might be listening on the call just see another, you know, farmer like themselves who's, you know, sought out funding, really thinking about, you know, the challenges on their farm and being able to utilize kind of the broader scope of what this program can fund. And you were really able to kind of suss out, yeah, this is a real need on our farm. You know, this particular implement will really help us meet the goals that we have to expand and increase the production on our farm. And so we think it's just a great example. And we're really thrilled you were able to join us today. So thank you for being here. We know you're a busy farmer.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Thanks, Kelsey.
We appreciate it. All right. So Kristen, we're going to pass it over to you. Tell us a little bit about the timeline for this year. When did the grant round open? When does it close? What does the, you know, process from beginning to end look like?
Yes, the nitty gritty. Thank you all. Kelsey, it's awesome to have you here with us. My name's Kristen. I'm going to be the main point of contact for the microgrant program. So you'll be seeing my contact information flash across the screen throughout this live stream. But I just wanted to say that this process, as Kelsey spoke to, is supposed to be really streamlined, simple, straightforward, and easy and quick, because we know farmers are busy. They got a lot going on. So the process this year is a little bit different than it has been in prior years. We're doing kind of a two-stage process this year for the application rounds. Round 1 opened December 6th, and it will close on January 7th, which is a Friday. So this first round is meant to be kind of an open call for folks to submit their initial project ideas to us through a really easy SurveyMonkey style application. And so that involves just a few pieces of information about yourselves, your farm, what you're producing, some demographic stuff, and then a little open-ended question to speak to the challenges you're facing on your farm and how your project proposal would address that. So 250 words or less, real easy, quick snapshot of the budget that you're thinking of, and that's it. And so the deadline for round 1, again, is January 7th. And then folks who, after our review process, if we think have a really strong proposal, we invite them to submit a follow-up application for round 2. And that period is going to be starting February 1st through the end of the month of February. That process is, again, designed to be really simple, straightforward. It's a quick form to fill out, a little bit more in depth about your needs, the challenges you're facing on your farm, and again, a little bit more detailed description of the project idea. And also a little bit more description of the budget. And then what's the thing we want to stress to folks for round 2 is that letter of support from a service provider that we're asking for. And we can go into more detail about that as we go. If anyone has questions about it, type them in the chat. But those are the big things to know about that. So we're aiming to make our award announcement in mid to late March. Folks who are selected for final awards will be notified by then. And then they'll have to sign a simple award agreement. And they'll have 1 year from that date of that letter to then implement their project and submit receipts or invoices to us for payment. So that's a pretty simple process. And then in terms of follow-up, I think all we're going to do is bug you once after the grant has been implemented and ask you how it's going and maybe for some pictures of it. So Jamie, if I left anything out on that, let me know. But I did also, thanks. Want to mention we do have our application materials available in Spanish as well on the website. So our guidelines doc, the FAQ doc, and the application itself.
Yeah, and if you go to this link, so it's farmland.org/NEFMP-apply. You'll find all the information, like Kristen said, FAQs, grant guidelines, link to apply, also a link to view the information in Spanish. So I'm going to put the timeline back up on the screen one more time, just so you can see it while I'm doing that. Just want to remind folks to type their comments in. You have questions about project eligibility, applicant eligibility, anything like that. We really want to answer them for you today while we have, Kristen and Jamie here with us, the people that are administering this program. They're the best people to ask these questions to. We're already getting some good comments, and we'll get to them in a little bit. But I think before we do, I think we want to move into a little bit of the questions about eligibility.
Yes, definitely. So let's start with how we're defining farmer. So our definition of farmer is not necessarily the USDA's formal definition of producer, right? So ours is a little bit more flexible. We're defining farmer as an individual, group, or organization who's intentionally cultivating annual or perennial crops or animals for harvest. It's not a program that's really designed for homesteaders or folks growing food for their personal use. But we will consider a proposal from folks who are growing food for their communities. So if there's any questions, again, about do I qualify, am I eligible, type them in the chat or contact me. I'm happy to talk through eligibility questions with folks. We've been getting a lot of good questions so far. So who's not eligible? I did want to say, unfortunately, prior awardees, so folks who got grants through us in 2020 and 2021, unfortunately are not able to apply for funding for 2022. And then it's also not our intention through this program to fund equine operations, aquaculture, or forestry projects. So just wanted to put that out there as well. In terms of who we're prioritizing applicants who are Black, Indigenous, and farmers of color, and also those farmers from diverse backgrounds as well, and gender identities. And then something that we're going to touch on a little bit later. So because this 2022 microgrant pot of money is tied to a larger project that's specifically focused on livestock producers in a specific Western New England county, range of counties, we're prioritizing 80% of our funding to go to livestock producers for soil health related projects in that area. So we'll bounce back to that because I know there's going to be a lot of questions about that.
Yeah, do we want to show the map maybe now, or do we want to wait for that?
Let's wait for that because we're going to kind of talk about all the eligible projects, and we'll kind of end with that one, so Kristen can go into more detail.
Great. Okay, I think that covers, a little bit about the eligibility, and then we're going to talk about the eligible project types now. We're having great questions come in. We are going to get to them in a moment. Please keep sending them. We've just got a little bit more to run through before we do that.
So Jamie, did you want to start talking about the different project types or the categories of funding?
Yeah, definitely. Greg, would you mind throwing up that slide? So I'm just going to quickly run through the kind of 4 types of eligible projects that are able to be funded through this program. And so the first of these, as I mentioned in the beginning, we really want to fund farmers in finding or getting onto more farmland. So we know in New England, as Kelsey mentioned, land values are really high. It can be really challenging to navigate finding a farm, navigating the process of negotiating a lease, the whole gamut, covering the cost of a down payment on a property you might be able to purchase. And so back on that slide, we have some just examples of prior recipients who we've been able to fund through this program that included, acquiring an additional piece adjacent to the farm, helping with actually business planning and consultation about a property that a farmer was considering purchasing, and then also covering the cost of a land search process. So really a wide range of things in that category are able to be funded. The next category, if you could throw up that next slide, Greg, is a pretty broad category. And so this is able to fund equipment and services that can increase on-farm productivity. And so the flashing is very...
Sorry, I'll stop.
Stay on that would be great. So, things like, fencing, implements or tools that can, make it more efficient to be, navigating that property, things like cover crop seed, tractors, anything that possibly could be needed on a piece of property that would enable that property to be more productive. Whether it's an existing property that you own or you're trying to expand production, maybe let's say into an adjacent field that maybe is overgrown, you want to kind of reclaim that field. We really want to help promote increasing the production of farmland in New England. So that's a very broad category, and that's the second eligible category. The third one is planning for the future of the farm. And so, as I said in the beginning, there are a lot of folks who, own farmland in New England. They have to have difficult conversations sometimes with their families or other business partners, potentially, what's going to happen for the future of that farm. And so we are able to fund that kind of mediation, attorney fees, estate planning, those kinds of conversations that are really necessary to do for many families as soon as possible, because they can take many years. We want to help incentivize folks to really get the support and the services that they need to start that process. So we've been able to fund a number of farmers in that category and have had some really great to see outcomes of folks really taking that next step to plan for the future of the farm. And so the last category, which I'm going to let kind of Kristen dig into, is this newer category around adopting regenerative ag and soil health practices on livestock operations in a particular part of New England. So I'll let Kristen take over this next one.
Yeah, so I think it might be helpful to just address why, because I'm getting the why question a lot. So why we have this specific priority area kind of already defined is because as I said, a significant portion of our microgrant funding is coming from a larger regenerative ag project. And it's roughly along the Connecticut River Valley. So if you want to show that map, Greg, so there's something like 2,600 livestock farms and dairy farms in this region. So the main focus of this larger project is to facilitate the adoption of more regenerative ag and soil health practices among specifically livestock farmers there in that region. So if anyone has any questions about their eligibility, we made that map to help folks figure that out. But as I said, so 80% of our funding is going to go to folks in that region for soil health practices. And when we say livestock, also that's inclusive of meat, dairy, egg, and fiber production as well. So what are some examples of these regenerative ag and soil health practices? We have a great guidelines document that has a whole bunch of them and a resources document that has a whole bunch of resources as well. But I think a great example would be if folks are trying to set up a rotational grazing system. We can fund things like fence, livestock watering systems, for example. We can also fund things like cover crop seed, purchasing seed mix for pollinator habitats and plantings, larger equipment for mowing, brush clearing. So that's just a very small portion of the examples of things we can fund. So again, if you have more specific questions, type them in the chat or get in touch with me and we can talk about whether they'd be eligible.
Awesome. We have a lot of questions coming in, so I think I want to start getting to some of those. I think a couple of these may have been answered while we've been speaking here. I think this is a quick one to answer, so I'll start with this one from Sarah, who's watching on YouTube. Hi, Sarah. So I think this question is, are Farmer Relief Fund grant recipients ineligible, or is it just former New England Farmer Microgrant Program recipients that are not eligible?
Great question. So what that's referring to is last year or during, the initial outbreak of the pandemic, AFT did have a nationwide farmer relief fund.
Yep.
That was able to get funds out to farmers quickly. So the answer is that those recipients of the Farmer Relief Fund would be eligible for the New England Farmer Microgrants. These are just prior NEFMP recipients who wouldn't be eligible this year.
Great. Okay, got another one I want to pitch. This is Jane, who's viewing on LinkedIn. Hi, Jane. So will we only fund one piece of equipment per project per farm, or can it be used for several items that, in service of the same goal?
Yeah, I would say we can definitely fund more than one item. It doesn't have to be one piece of equipment. And you're welcome to send more specific examples or what your idea is if you have questions about different types of supplies or equipment. But we can definitely fund more than just one item.
Great. All right, we've got one from Lisa from Facebook. Can you define service provider for us?
You want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So that's a great question. So service provider, we're really looking for a letter of support from any agency, school, extension agent, organization, business consultant who provides technical assistance or financial assistance to farmers. So that can be your local extension agent. It can be if you've worked with an NRCS field staff before, if you've ever taken a farm business planning class with a local nonprofit, like a buy local group. There's amazing nonprofits who do a lot of working really closely with their regional farmers. So a lot of those folks have already relationships with people, and you may not remember it. You took a class or you popped in on a webinar. Follow back up with them, start the conversation to see if they can just provide you with a letter of support and to really speak to how you would make this project really successful. Jamie, did you want to add anything about service providers?
I think that was a really great response. I think, there may be folks who feel like, they're maybe not currently connected with a service provider. And we have a great resource directory, which is scrolling there in the bottom of the screen that Kristen's pulled together, which, if you're trying to think about who would a service provider be, we have a great kind of list of ideas. It's not wholly comprehensive. There probably are other folks out there. And we just encourage you to reach out to us if you can't think of anybody. It could be somebody who's more like an advisor, a trusted mentor who you've worked with over the years who can really vouch for the project and, the potential success of that project. So we're really just looking for, kind of two things, really trying to incentivize folks to get the support that they need to really show that these funds are going to be utilized in the best and most successful way possible. And also to help us, make the most informed decisions as those reviewing the grants about, the caliber of the proposal and really trying to see yes, we do believe this will be a successful project and the funds will be utilized the best way possible.
Great questions. Please, if you have any more, type them into the comment thread of the social platform you're viewing this on. We're going to get to as many as we can. I think I've got one more that I want to give you all. And I'm not sure if you're going to have the answer to this because I don't necessarily know what this is. But is it possible to use some of the grant money for regenerative ag design certification and a starter project? So I think Barbara, what you're asking is if you're just starting out, kind of thinking about regenerative ag, is it possible to receive a grant to do some of that planning work?
Yeah, I'm not sure about the funding toward the certification, but I would love to hear more about what the starter project entails. Jamie, chime in too if you have like a yes or no.
No, I think we need to know a little bit more information. And so I think I just would encourage folks to reach out to Kristen if it's something that maybe you don't know if it fits within one of our 4 core categories, or you want to maybe combine different things, just reach out and we can help really suss out what would be the best potential proposal.
Yeah, but Barbara, that's a great question. So feel free to email me and we can chat.
Yeah, and I'll just put Kristen's contact information on the screen here. It is kirvin@farmland.org. One more question from our audience. I think you guys have addressed this, but I just want to make sure. One more question from Sarah. Can these funds be used basically to pay for a lease to get onto farmland?
Yes, potentially. Yeah. So I think we need to know a little bit more about the proposal and the project and all of that, but that would definitely fit within that core category around land access and getting secure tenure on land.
Great. All right. Well, we're out of viewer questions at the moment. So if anyone has more, please type them in. We can get to them right away. Kristen, do you want to talk a little bit about the types of projects that are not eligible?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think we may have mentioned earlier that we're really looking to fund things that are as tied to the land as possible. So we understand how certain processing equipment or marketing assistance might be really helpful in making your operation more efficient, and it might poise you to scale up more easily. We appreciate that. Unfortunately, we're really looking to fund the things that are tied to the land and your actual growing. So things like processing equipment, refrigeration, cold storage facilities, things like that are not really going to be considered for funding for this program. Yeah.
All right. I mean, we can wrap up. I think we've gone through a lot of the information on eligibility in terms of applicants, in terms of projects, in terms of geography. If anyone viewing does have any further questions, this is your chance to ask them to, Jamie and Kristen, the people that will be kind of managing this project, best people to ask these questions to. So you still got some time to chat them into the comment threads. Kristen, you want to just, while we're waiting for any comments to come in, just wrap up a little bit, maybe a reminder of, deadlines, anything like that?
Yeah, so reminder that round 1 applications are due Friday, January 7th. So if you have any questions or if you need any assistance, please reach out to me soon so we can chat. I'm happy to make an appointment with you, to call you, email me anytime. And yeah, I think that's the big date for remembering right now, January 7th.
Great. Okay, we got a couple questions that are coming in. I hope a couple more do. First of all, so our typical grant's 5,000. Are we also targeting smaller grant requests?
I'll take that one on real quick. That's a great question. Typically, folks are trying to max out the $5,000 up to $5,000 requests that they can ask for. We do have a minimum of $500. So again, we will accept anything within that range. It's really up to the applicant.
Great. And one more question from Jane. Are we trying to predict or calculate increased soil carbon as part of product evaluation? I think the answer is we would love to, but we're not going to be able to this round. But please, project staff, take that question away.
Go ahead.
Oh, I don't know the answer to that. I know, this, as Kristen mentioned, part of this, the significant portion of this project funding is coming through a larger regional conservation partnership grant that our New England team received, which is why we have this core focus on soil health and livestock operations. And so there will be some amount of metrics and the promotion of these kinds of practices. I don't actually know offhand personally. We can look into that in terms of the level of tracking and measuring of that level of depth there. But that's a really great question. And I know our project team is just really thrilled about this larger project. And just to mention that this funding, this larger federal grant that we received is a 5-year grant. And so we're really thrilled that this program over the next 5 years will continue to have this dedicated funding. So we will be able to fund at least 100 grants over the next 5 years, and we will continue to have the sort of core focus on livestock operations, implementing regenerative health and regenerative ag and soil health practices in New England, but we will also continue to really want to stay true to the original eligible project areas as well. We won't be able to give out as many of those grants, but we will have this really core dedicated funding over the next 5 years. So we are really thrilled to share that with you all.
Still a little bit of time to get your questions in. Don't be shy. One more from Sarah. Can funds be used to hire a lawyer to assist in writing up legal documents like a lease agreement?
Absolutely. Yep. That'd be a great project.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we would love to assist with. Okay, we're going to wrap up then. Kristen, do you want to give your last words first, and then we'll turn it over to Jamie for any final comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm available. I love speaking with people and talking through their project ideas or if they have eligibility questions. So please feel free to contact me in however way, if you want to email me or call me, that's fine. Let me know. I want to help. I think we want really to make this process as simple as possible. And part of that is my availability to just talk with people through their projects and assist in the application process.
Yeah, and we want people to be successful, right? Like we want farmers that find this grant opportunity, think it applies to them, have a really great project. We want them to get funding. So Kristen is here to help you work through that process, answer any questions you have. Her email is right up on the screen here. Feel free to shoot her an email. Jamie.
Yeah, I'll just wrap up with a couple of thoughts that just came to me as well. One is just to mention that we do have a list of the types of projects that were previously awarded over the last 2 years on our website. So we encourage you to check that out. We also have a couple really gorgeous videos on our website. We have a longer kind of 12-minute one. We have about a 3.5-minute one, which we were just excited to produce that highlights 6 of our 2020 NAFMP awardees. And I just tear up every time I watch that. It's a really beautiful film. So I hope a lot of people watch it. And then just another thought, something else we wanted to mention, if you are yourself a service provider and you're listening on this call, we really lean on you to help share this opportunity with farmers who you may be working with or you may know who might be eligible for this project. We are really grateful to you for helping identify some of these projects, for being willing for folks who are invited into round 2 to write those letters of support, particularly for farmers who may not be as connected or on social media, or for whom English is a barrier. We really, really value the support of many of these nonprofit service provider organizations, as well as individual consultants to really help get this opportunity out to as many different farmers around New England as possible. We really do want to fund a very diverse range of farmers from many different backgrounds, many different sizes of farms, types of operations, different situations. So we really lean on you to help us really curate that really diverse mix of folks. And we really have just been so thrilled the last couple of years that we've been able to really achieve a great diversity of farmers we've been able to fund, as well as a diversity of kinds of projects we've been able to fund. So putting out the plug for our service provider colleagues and friends. And just to echo Kristen, we're so thrilled to have Kristen newly on board. It's like her 5th week and she's hit the ground running and is really going to be dedicated pretty much full time to really supporting farmers across New England and rocking out the administration of this program. So we're just really thrilled to be launched and to be able to get this really critical funding out into the world. So we thank you for joining us.
Yeah. And just from a staff perspective, I think these grant programs are one of the most exciting things that we do at American Farmland Trust. If for no other reason than it feels like we're making a real impact in the communities that we are serving. I know for me, like Jamie said, seeing the videos, seeing the stories, hearing from farmers that have gotten grants from us and hearing what they've actually done with them, how important it was at certain times, it really it really just hits home about how important the work that American Farmland Trust does. So really exciting, I think, for us as staff to be a part of this program. So I think this is the last Free Range Conversations event we're going to do this year. So just want to wish everyone happy holidays, happy new year. Go to the application site, apply, contact Kristen if you have any questions. We hope you're successful this year if you decide to apply for the program. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you on the next call. Have a good one.